that we as real people in the real world would decide to put on this VR headset and come into this simulacrum fully knowing that there's an AIX here and how, difficult it can be?
Okay, that's a good question. Again, it starts with a false premise. Now, the false premise here is that I have stated my opinion over and over that the original simulacrum had volunteers, and that's who we are. And it was only after we agreed to enter that the simulacrum became locked down because somebody later introduced AIX. AIX was not here from the beginning. We did not volunteer for that. We volunteered to come run the experiments we were supposed to run, do whatever we were supposed to do, or be the subjects of experiments that were run by overseers on the outside of the construct. That's what we agreed to. Now, it was really easy to agree to. Take yourself out of subjectivity. Try to be as objective as possible and imagine your true personality on the outside of the construct on a holodeck. You are standing with about 15 people and an instructor is sitting there telling you, hey man, this is it right here. It said, you guys are going to be gone for about 5.5 hours. That's what we're predicting. It could be as long as 7 hours. But all we have to do is walk beyond this field into this holodeck. And we're going to experience hundreds of lifetimes. While you're on the outside of the holodeck, some people are going to be nervous. They're like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. It's a long time, hundreds of lifetimes. And then the instructor says, well, you don't have to. I mean, you can go back, we have unlimited volunteers, but you're not going to remember any of them until you're done with this. He says every life sim that you live through is going to be one after the other. You're going to have a memory wipe through each one of them. Only after you come back out, when we turn the simulacrum off, you will have all this new information, new discoveries, new positive things, all this spiritual and intellectual development. You'll have it all. All the negativity stays on the holodeck. It collapses with the simulacrum protocols. Now, from that vantage point, would you not go in there knowing that in 5.5 hours, you're walking right back out a totally improved person? I would do it. I don't care what I experience in there. They probably even have a training session where they tell people, look, in the simulacrum, none of this is really happening, but you're going to feel it. You're going to think it's happening. But I mean, there's torture, there's burning alive. Yeah, you get buried alive from earthquakes and all that. But we have a lot of archaeological evidence that when these really bad things happen, it's almost as if people are pulled out. Now, people watching other people die see that person's avatar go through all kinds of stuff. But we have some pretty compelling evidence that people aren't really experiencing those horrific deaths. They're removed like that. Archaeologists have found many ancient cities, not a single human skeleton. Whole cities that were collapsed in earthquakes and gone. It doesn't make any sense. There have been many scientific reports that theorize as to what happened to the population. There's been other cities that were buried in mud and dirt, and because there's no human remains distributed, and the only human remains that are found in these ancient archaeological sites are those that were interred before that cataclysm, those that were properly buried and their ornaments laid out and stuff. That's a different scenario. So basically what I'm saying is if you were on the outside of the construct and knew you were about to enter it and knew no matter what happened inside that construct, you were still coming out alive. There's really no risk whatsoever. It's all a video game, but you're going to experience multiple lifetimes. They're going to last a long time. But in reality, the whole thing's 5.5 hours. And you come out with a tremendous amount of new experiences, new data, new memories. Because truly, you're not really a human doing all this. You're an immortal, and you hunger for those physical experiences. You hunger for all that. So we're talking about spiritual technologies. We're talking about things that are far beyond any of our present frames of reference.
Yeah, 2 points here. One is that Tom Campbell also says that when we experience very traumatic kind of death, torture, things like that, that our consciousness is extracted from the body, so we really don't experience it. And you're saying something kind of in a little bit of a different way. Mm-hmm. That's interesting to me. And the other question I was going to ask you, which I think you answered, is if we had a really bad experience in a particular lifetime, so it seems to me that you're saying that we live these lives consecutively, like they go, once we're in the simulacrum, once a life is over, bam, snap, we're a baby again, we're born, we go through it again, bam, die, just keep going. My thought was maybe when we finish a life, maybe we take the headset off and we realize, and then we put it back on and go through another life. But you're saying that they go through in a series.
Okay, well, let me explain why I say that.
Sure.
Okay. So, like I said, I don't like to provide opinions without being able to tell you why that opinion. It needs to be an educated assumption, and in this case, it is. So, you're right. I can't say that you're wrong. I can't say that they're after one life you exit and you take off your headset and all that. To me, it doesn't make sense, but you could be right. But what does make sense to me is that there are many researchers who have published books and articles that have shown that 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old children have very intimate details and memories about families that they must have lived among, and they're always local. Almost every single time that some kid has memories that could not be from that avatar and that family, it's found out that it's a relative family or friends that are in the proximity, same neighborhood or same community. And this has been shown over and over that these like, it's reincarnation, but they're coming back to the same geographical locale, and they're coming back within the same community, same body of friends, and the memories they have are from a different context, meaning these children they basically have trouble trying to communicate at the intelligent level they are at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, when the memories that they're trying to describe are from an 85-year-old. Who is basically exiting the holography. And this has been shown many times that and my own personal philosophy is that if anything can be shown for one, it can be shown for all.
So what does that tell you? Does that you're saying that we just come right back into like a similar community or a geographical when we die? Yes. Okay.
I believe we come right back in. I don't believe there's much of a waiting period at all. It's and I believe that the oversoul, we can call it a programming template, a series of algorithms. I don't know what it is, but the oversoul has everything absolutely mapped out perfectly. It knows when somebody's going to exit the holography, and that avatar is no use. And this perfectly explains, like, I'll give you an example. After great disasters, after great battles, after great wars, after resets, like 1902, there is a common denominator. I have not discussed this on my own channel. This is a part of some of the new information I'm going to reveal. But after all these terrible events that have massive loss of life, what happens?
What does happen?
Baby boomers. Massive population explosions happen every single time disasters. They always follow disasters. World War II saw a tremendous loss of life, not just on the battlefields, but while World War II was ongoing, there was genocide in China. We had communist China. They were killing millions of people. During World War I, it wasn't just on the battlefields. The Bolsheviks were exterminating 22 to 26 million Christian Russians in all the death camps. But following all this were massive, huge population explosions.
I usually don't cut you off, but I wanted to know, all these people being exterminated, these millions of Chinese and Russians, do you think the majority of them were NPC?
I think a lot of them were, yes. I think a lot of them were. But my point is all this is masked. It's all hidden in the fact that there has to be a certain population of people here to support all the souls that are passing through these avatars. So the perfect way to put these souls back into the loop are these baby booms, these massive population explosions that happen right after a cataclysm or right after an epic war. because it happened after the Civil War too. During the Reconstruction, there was a huge population explosion in the United States. So it's a common denominator. To me, that's the oversoul providing for the new deals. This means it has so much prescience that it's already inducing romantic episodes between males and females at the right time, so that 9 months later, the next series of souls can come in. It's all by design. The whole life-death cycle isn't what we think it is. It's a control mechanism. It's to allow we, the immortals, to live as many experiences as we can.
I have a viewer named Alex who has a series of questions, looks like 4. Should I ask them one at a time, or do you want me to ask them all at once?
I would do one at a time, because I'm going to get lost in the details.
Okay. He says, and this plays into what we're talking about now. If our memories have been wiped as far as an avatar, how smart are we in the real reality outside of this simulacrum? So basically, I also want to add on to this saying, are our personalities as Chad and Jason the same or very similar to what we are in the real life?
Well, we all have avatars. And we all have emotional capacities. We also all have intellectual capacities. We can all be super hyper intelligent, smart, and all that. But the one thing that separates all of us is our personalities are very, very distinct. Even perfect twins may have mirror image avatars, but twins have been shown to have such divergent personalities. So personality comes from somewhere way beyond the present experience. Personality is developed outside the present avatar, not as an infant coming up. The infant coming up is for the avatar to mature. But I remember being very young and thinking very deeply, and I believe a lot of other people do too. We just didn't have the right frames of reference, the vernacular. We didn't have all the things to really build it. But in our own minds, we were very observant. We were learning all kinds of things. But I believe that we are all very, very intelligent. The problem is your present avatar is going to restrict that through the filters of the central nervous system. It's a filtering system. And it basically, you can imagine it this way. You're an immortal. You're jacked into an experience that allows you to feel physicality, but you have a problem. It's a parasite that's been attached to the back of your head, and it goes down your back. This parasite restricts you from much of the phenomena around you. You can only perceive so much of it.
I think that kind of answers the next question Alex had, which is, why would we want to dumb ourselves down just to play a video game? So I think that kind of answers it.
Well, right? I think that if my premise is true, that we are immortals and that we volunteered for this experience, then we're having other experiences outside the context of the simulacrum, and that this is very tantalizing. This is very interesting. Outside the construct, I know I can't die. I don't fear death, but you're going to put me into a world where I can actually get eaten by a shark. I can actually be on a battlefield and experience the euphoria of my shield locked in a shield wall as an enemy force comes down the hill toward us. I said, I can experience these things and then come and tell you guys about it. I'm going to sign up for that. I mean, I know a lot of other people, because we don't really know how much in stasis our reality is outside the construct. There are probably other realities that we could experience. But in this one, it's like the curse of sin. In this one, it's very violent. This may be a stepping stone. There may be 10,000 other simulacrums, and we gain from each one. In this one, this is all we know, and this is all we can experience. The memory wipe would be absolutely necessary, because the fear programming would never work against somebody who remembered who they truly were. It would never work. It would completely corrupt all output. There would be no experiments you could run with a body of individuals who knew they were from somewhere else and that they really didn't have anything to worry about. None of your scientific experimentation would work. All your output would be off.
The next question Alex has is the video game better than living a real life? So is the simulacrum better than, I think you kind of answered that too. This is more interesting, which as it brings me to another question yet is, you said we are immortal on the outside, like in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
We are immortal.
Yeah, I believe we are. I believe that. See, the older belief systems give us many tantalizing clues, such as, in the beginning, God created man in his own image. Okay, well, I'm not going to interpret that through the religious Judeo-Christian filters that I have been brainwashed to believe most of my life. I'm going to interpret that at face value. When I interpret that at face value, it tells me that in the beginning, God made man in his own image. Therefore, in his own image means human. Humans made humans to live in the simulacrum. This is what it would tell me. This is a creation story that identifies who made mankind. But if mankind is made in the express image of his maker, then his maker looked human.
Alex's last question is this a nested simulation? From what you're saying, it doesn't seem so. Like we enter this simulacrum and that's it. It's not nested because there's a real world that we just came from. So I'll just let you answer that question. Meaning like, this is not a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation?
Okay, I have entertained that on my own channel. I think I only entertained it twice. But yes. I'm gonna have to conclude it doesn't go ad infinitum. It's not like there's simulations after simulations after simulations. It doesn't go ad infinitum. But because all the calendars of the world, my research on the calendars of the world and where they all started with the introduction of different bodies in the heavens and what those calendars meant for ancient cultures, yes, I am going to conclude that the simulacrum is a simulation within a simulation, and it was done for a reason. It was done for a reason. It doesn't go beyond that. There is a real reality. There is absolute real reality. This is not ad infinitum. This doesn't go on through multiple simulations and all that. I have explained on my own channel that there were reasons to do a simulation, the simulacrum, inside another simulation. And it was all due to AIX, the introduction of AIX, the unknown factor. There could be absolutely no cross-contamination with the real universe. So instead of running just a pure simulation with the AIX introduced, they ran it within another simulation to make sure it's an added defense mechanism. And I discussed this in more detail in my other videos. It goes into the realm of speculation. I don't have direct evidence of this at all.
So you're saying that when we put that VR headset on in the real world, and we're not living in that first simulacrum now. We're in the second with the AIX.
Yes. We're in the one which is basically has all the attachments to the Nemesis cataclysm. This is the Nemesis simulation. I have a video about it. It's called the Nemesis simulation. This simulation is very focused. It's all about how to survive a binary system when one of the stars is about to collapse. What do we do to survive such a solar system-wide cataclysm?
So this is all programmed in.
Yes.
For us to, okay.
Yes.
Do you think, just my question, do you think this is the first time such a simulacrum, get that word, has ever been created, or has this particular simulacrum that you just detailed, the Nemesis simulacrum, been created maybe a dozen times before or 100 times before? I know that's speculation, but
this is where it gets kind of interesting. All right. I used to believe that in the beginning, God created the world, the heavens and the earth. I used to believe my programming. I don't believe that anymore because I accept the fact that God, the oversoul, is an eternal being. Therefore, I cannot attach a beginning and an end to him or her. The oversoul did not induce a creation event. The oversoul never stopped creating. the amount of simulacrums that are attached to the real universe where we as a population of immortals dwell could now be infinite. And when this is over with, we'll all get together. Hey, man, you remember when you interviewed me on YouTube and we were trying to figure all this crap out? You remember that? These are the type of conversations we'll have in the future. It's going to be a ride. You can basically, if you can objectify enough to put yourself outside the construct, you can look back in the construct and imagine that that's a vacation. But I don't want to, I've already done the Nemesis vacation. I want to go over here and do the Electra vacation. This is an entirely different series of historical events, series of phenomena, different ecospheres, biospheres, whole histories that have all been programmed. This is a totally different ride. I'm going to go do that one. But they're not just vacations for immortals. They're deeper than that. Because immortals already don't have to fear death. Therefore, there's very little development they can do. There's no fear of pain. So it's these experiences that never really threaten them, only make them believe that they are mortal once they're inside of it. That's where all the intellectual, emotional, and spiritual development occurs. It's the risk factor. It's the X factors that create this type of stigmata. Without it, there is no development. So if I'm an oversoul and I have created an immortal population, I would want them to enjoy that, but I also want them to appreciate it. And in order to appreciate it, I need them to develop their personalities so they can see all the things that reality could really be, what they could really be suffering. But instead, I gave them the best from the beginning.
So the oversoul is in the real world, not you're talking, when you say oversoul, you mean kind of like the God of the real world?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically the creator of everything, which, like I said, there was never a creation event. It's an ongoing continuum.
So in the real world, we don't die. Would you say we live an idyllic, harmonious life? Would it be like a normal life, like living in a city, having a family, friends, something like that? Or what can you say about the real world?
Well, like I said, it's all speculation. It's all now we're entering the realm where we all excel differently in the application of spiritual faculties such as empathy, imagination, and intuition. I can use these three. These are purely spiritual, have nothing to do with my avatar. And I can use these three and pretty much guesstimate that it's fantastic, better than anything we can do. I mean, we have glimpses and clues in my father's house for many mansions and all kinds of inexplicable wonders. We from our perspective inside a tainted universe, a simulated one, then it's probably fantastic and it's great. But we would also have to factor in that there must be activities that can be performed by immortals to prevent them from being bored. And that's what an oversoul would do. He would endlessly provide those materials. And those activities would endlessly also basically improve them.